Welcome to Tech Brothers with Amir. In this video, we are going to learn how to use create statement to create table in SQL Server. Create a table statement is not that hard. Anybody can teach you. You can take the syntax from the internet and just simply use say create table and table name, and then you will be using a set of columns that you need to have in your table. The most important thing before we go ahead and create the table is understanding your data. So let me give you example. Here in one of the Excel sheet, I have some data. I have salesperson first name, salesperson last name, product name, item sold, item or sold price, sold date, city, state, country, and region. Now this data is given to me, and I need to understand it, analyze it, and then need to create a table. So if I just want to go ahead and create the table, it's very simple. I can copy these columns and say create table, provide these columns, and just select the data type. But before I go ahead and select the data type, I need to analyze the data itself in each of the column. What will be the best data type for this column? What will be the best data type for this column? And what will be the best data type for this column? Because if you are selecting not the suitable data type, you are wasting a lot of storage, you are wasting a lot of memory. So selecting a right data type for your column is very important. So let's consider the very first column, salesperson first name. You see that I have 5 characters for the first name. Amir here, only 1 character, M here, and I have 6 characters here for Christy. If I further go, I might have 7 or 8 characters, and there could be scenarios where I can have a first name that could be lengthy as 20 characters. So just to be on the safe side, I will go ahead and maybe select 30 characters. But as the values are varying, so what I can do, I can select a varchar, because I don't really need to say char 30, because char 30 is like fixed. You always going to have that storage. But when you say varchar 30, that means if 5 characters will come, it will take the space only for 5 characters. So for first name, we can select the varchar as it is going to be character strings or characters, and then the max what we can expect is 30 characters in the first name. So this is how we are going to start our create table statement. First of all, you will say create table and then table name. Let me call this one maybe customer. If I will go ahead and say customer, and then I have to have small parentheses here, and we can go back here and copy the name of this column, or you can type it, salesperson first name. You see that I do not have any spaces. If you will have spaces, you are going to have problem when you write your select query, because you have to put double quotes around in that case if you have space, or you have to have parentheses around your columns. That's not a best practice to have space in your column names or table names as well. So I will suggest you, if you have, let's say, salesperson first name, you might want to just use the uppercase for here, and then for person use the uppercase and use uppercases here. That's how you will do it. Now salesperson first name, let's say you are creating customer sale table, customer sale. You don't have to have a salesperson name, you can simply say first name. So it is your choice, whatever works best for you, or what is more meaningful. So now we have first name and say varchar, and max is 30, and it can accept any characters. Let's say if we save 5 characters, it will take the space for 5. If we save 30, it will take the space for 30 characters. That sounds good. Now for the last name, that's the same thing. We don't see there is a last name that's going to be 50 characters. We have a max, we have like 6 or 7 characters. We can use the same thing here. Let's go and say last name varchar 30. And if you see here, I'm not saying null or not null, but in cases, let's say here there is no value, and I know that there is no value, so I have to have null in that cases, and that's where this part comes. If we don't say not null, it can accept the null. And if we always want to have, say, there should be value for this column always, like first name should be having the value always, we say not null. So do not accept any null value, always ask for the value. And here last name, okay, sometime we might not have a last name for a person, so null is fine. Now let's go to the next part, and here we have a product name. With the product name, we have a same kind of concept. I will go with the maybe worker. If we want to probably somebody say cell phone Samsung or something, maybe that will take more characters, so I'm going to go ahead and say worker 50. But again, depending on your analysis and actual data, so we will say product name worker 50. And as you can see that this is also varying. So if you see, some of them are small, some of them large names, so that's how we say varchar, and whatever the characters we get, that much space will be taken. Now we'll go to the item sold. Item sold, we see that it is a number, so you are not selling an item in 1.5, you are selling one TV or two cell phones, so it is an integer. Now let me go back here and I will say item sold, and I will say integer. So now I did integer, that's not a problem. SQL Server is going to take it, it is going to be happy. But take a look on your data. What numbers you have? You have 1, 2, 3, 5, 10. The max number you have 10. So in cases, let's say even you have 100 or 200 TVs, or maybe you are selling 210 TVs. So you need to analyze what could be the max number of items you can sell. So depending on that, you will select the data type. Think about it. I'm not an intelligent person, or I do not have a whole lot of experience with the data type, or I do not work with data types on daily basis. How I will select the best data type for integer? And depending upon our analysis, what we see items should be less than maybe 100 always. But let's give us a little more room. Maybe we will say 200 items can be sold at one time. That's the maximum number we feel in this case. So now I will go to the Google. I will say SQL Server data types. Once I open that, I will come to the Microsoft website called data types. Click here. And now I need to select the best data type for my item sold. Here we have different data type categories, and you need to take a look on exact numeric. And we see here we have integer. With the integer, we have a big integer, tiny integer, integer, money, small integer. So let's start with the tiny, and we'll say, let me click first actually integer and show you what happened. When we have integer, sorry, click the wrong, right here, integer. When okay, this is given actually the chart, same chart for all of them. So for integer, you see that the values can be 2 billion. So I don't think so my company is that big, like I will be selling item 2 billion items in one sitting, and it will take 4 bytes. Now with the small integer, okay, 32,000, so it will take 2 bytes. And with the tiny integer 0 to 255, it will take 1 byte. Let's not even consider a big integer. That's going to be taken 8 bytes to save that data, and it will save this big value. So I feel that as our items are going to be between maybe 50, 60 or maximum 100, this is going to work best for us. So we will go for tiny int. So go back here and say tiny int instead of integer. You don't want to waste the storage. That's you want to use the best practices, and whatever is required, use the minimum resources. You don't want to give extra space where you never need that extra space. Now with the sold price, here I have numbers 800, 700 and all that. That might not be correct. My data right now, maybe I'm getting all the data as an integer, fine, but there could be price 850 cent or 2499 cent or 300.25 cent. So there could be a numeric data. For sold price, I'm going to take the sold price column here, go back here, and now I have to provide the data type. Think I'm not knowledgeable, or I always forget the data types, best data type for that. So I need to go back to the data types, as this is going to be money, or this is going to be number. So we can select from exact numerics, because we don't want to have approximate numerics. If you will have a float or real, it will round off. So you don't want to do that, because money is important. Let's say if you have saved 100 million records, or even just a million records, and each it will round. Let's say we have million items. Now if you will just round with even 0.01, so that's 1 cent, what money you are gonna lose? So you see the big number here. So that's why if you are making sale or some really dealing with the money, you don't want to use approximate numerics. You want to use exact numeric. Here in our case, we can use numeric, or we can take a look on money, small money. I will go with small money first. And with the small money, I see it take 4 bytes, and this is the max number it can save. So that's great, and I'm okay with that. My prices are not gonna be, if you see that this is a big number for my item sold. So I'm going to take small money from here, go back and say small money. Again, as you are selling an item, you don't want to have a null value for the sold item. You can always say not null here, because person has to provide a value. And product name, yes, not null as well. We are moving very slow, but it is teaching us a great lesson, and we can use this experience when we will become even architect, or design any staging databases, or even OLTP databases as architect, or even work as a developer. So now with the sold data, it is always going to be data, so we can use the data instead of using, some people say use the date time. That's not best practice. Sold date, SQL Server does provide us a date data type. So let me take you back one step here, and we take a look like what is the difference if I will select a date or date time. Now with the date, I want to see here the range you can provide. So you have a range, what type of information you can save, and storage size 3 bytes fixed. So that's what it take. But if you will go further down here and select the date time, it take more space or storage. So if you go here, so you see that date range, if you are same in some date range that does not fix, you cannot put in the date. Maybe yes, at that time you will have date time, but as long as you can save your values and you don't care about the date range, you are fine. So here you see storage size 8 bytes. So in date we have 3 bytes, and date time 8 bytes. So we are very much sure we are going to save only the current dates, and we are not going century back and save in the old values. So we are okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and date, and with the city, same thing again, and state, let's do the city, Varchar. Now this is important. Sometime, let's say if you are working with United States, maybe you can pull the city information, city names from the Google, and dump into some staging table and select the max length. I will show you that function at the end of this video, like what will be the max length from how to find from our column. Once you dump the data into some staging table, maybe at first you will say create table with the column that's like 300 varchar 300, dump the data, and then take the max of length of that column. So once you get the max length, you will see, okay, this is the city that takes the max. So then you can define, okay, varchar 50, varchar 100, or whatever is required. But most of the cities will fit in a varchar 50. Fine. And we don't, if you're okay with null, fine. If you don't want a null, you will say not null. We are moving forward now. We are going to be a little quick, and I will just copy and paste these things. here, state, varchar 50, varchar 50, and varchar 50. Okay, one more thing. Let's say if you have, let's say not null as well. Give me a second because I'm typing and trying to talk at the same time. Sometimes that doesn't work. Not null, and close the parentheses. Okay, let's adjust that, or at least make them in correct format so we can read it better. So we have a state. See here, even state is the reserved keyword kind of in the SQL. So if you can put something like a country, state, or something that make it different from your reserve keywords and all that, that will work. Otherwise it's going to be not a problem, but every time you select it you have to provide or sometime you have to say, let's say, put the parentheses around it. In the same way we have case keyword. Let's say if I will say case, then what I have, case, and the case is a reserved keyword. So if I really have to use it, I have to use the parentheses around it, and then every time I will write my select query, I cannot say select case from table. Let's say customer sale. It will fail. It is going to fail because case is a reserved keyword. So you have to provide the parentheses around. And I recommend instead of providing these kind of or use these words, maybe you want to make it a little bit different. Let's say as here we have a state. So you want to say country, state, maybe something like that. Okay, now once we have the data here and you see some of the data, this fits in varchar just fine. But if you have some data that's coming from China or Arabic, and that data has to be saved in that column, you want to use nvarchar. So let's consider this data, the state, country, and especially the states. Let's say they will come in different Chinese characters. Sometime if we are saving the data for China, that we have to save the state as it is. Those characters, they cannot be saved in varchar. So in those cases we'll say nvarchar. So varchar take one character to save varchar when you have defined it, it take 1 byte to save one character. So let's say if I'm saving a, it will take 1 byte. So 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. So it is more like a storage things. So but if you are saving some Chinese character, let's say this is Chinese character, you have to have 2 bytes. So the type you will use nvarchar, and each nvarchar character will take 2 bytes. So just depend upon your data, do some analysis. If you are creating a table that will save the data for different countries, languages, and some if you are using Chinese or Arabic or Hebrew, so in those character set you have to use nvarchar if you want to save those characters or alphabets from those languages. Now we are good here. That's all, and we will go ahead and create the table. Now our table is created. My database was your database name. So now I can go ahead and select star from customer sale, and we see that the table is ready. Now we can go to the database here, your database name, and then I have tables, and here we see that customer sale table. Now let's refresh. We can see the columns here as well, first name, last name, and all that. So that works just fine. We see not null, null, if they are defined as a null. See here last name is null, so we can see that. Now you see that the table is created in DBO schema. So if you will not provide any schema here, it will be created in a DBO schema. So now think the same table I want to create in TB, Tech Brothers schema. So what is schema? It's a big container inside the database to separate your tables or objects such as store procedure and views and all that. So if you want further distribution inside the database for those objects, you use different schemas. I have a video on the schema, so go ahead and watch it. And this is the second schema I have created called the TB Tech Brothers. So if I will say create table, schema name dot table name, so now this will be created in a TB schema. So go ahead and execute. See, the same object such as a customer sale can be available in two schemas. So it is in DBO schema, it is also in Tech Brothers schema. So that's how you will create the table statement. Provide, so you will always say create table, schema name dot your table name, parentheses, and then bring the column one after one, provide the data type, and if this is varchar, char or nvarchar, you have to say what length you want to use. If it is integer, tiny integer, small integer, small money, you don't have to say the length because it already know. And at the end, once you are done with all those fields, you will close the parenthesis and run the statement. So I hope you learned something out of this video, and I will see you guys in next video. Thanks very much for spending time with me. Bye.